Mission Command is both a philosophy and a warfighting function that supports the Army's operational concept, unified land operations. As a philosophy, Mission Command is the exercise of authority and direction by the commander, using mission orders to enable disciplined initiative within the commander's intent, to empower agile and adaptive leaders in the conduct of unified land operation. The Mission Command warfighting function consists of the related tasks and a mission command system that supports the exercise of authority and direction by the commander.
General Sullivan said, and we had this discussion before we just came in here about this challenge we have in going sort of from theory to application. And as the sort of doctrine meister of the Army, what I thought I'd do is get us all on a common understanding. You'll see why I use that term, as I describe as succinctly as possible Mission Command. And I will try to preempt a lot of the questions or clarify some of the misunderstanding that I commonly get as I go around to all of our joint partners, as I go around to non-military folks. Last week I was in Europe going around talking, amongst other things, about Mission Command. And I think one of the reasons why we haven't necessarily, although great strides have been made, completely cross that gap is because there is some significant misunderstanding or lack of complete understanding of, first of all, why we even have Mission Command. Why do we have it, and what does it really mean? Now, I am a little partial to it because ADP 6.0 Mission Command was the first manual we put out after I got to CAC, so there is sort of some personal ownership, but I'll try to set that aside. And usually the first question I get is, hey Dave, why did you replace Command and Control with Mission Command? Did you need an OER support form bullet or something like that? And that's why, and I'll try to answer that here as easily as I can. First of all, we did not replace it, but why it is actually indispensable, and Command and Control is inadequate. And so Command and Control itself is inadequate, and therefore systems to design that are designed to only Command and Control will be inadequate. And so I'll start at the top. If you look at all of our ADPs that are out there, only 10 or 12 pages, and the first page is always a picture. So since we've taken doctrine down to from 300 pages down to 10 pages, and there's always a picture to start one off, it starts to become clear why there's a former armor officer at CAC, because we've tried to use less words and less sentences. And what this first page in our doctrine is always a logic map. Where is this piece of doctrine you're talking about fit within all of the logic of doctrine? So this is from ADP 6.0, which is Mission Command, but it says, where are you within the higher piece of doctrine or concept, which is unified land operations, ADP 3.0, which is the Army's part of unified action. And I always tell folks, whether you're an individual or an organization, you have to, the first thing you have to do before you determine what you are going to do is you have to figure out what you are for. What is your purpose? What are you for? What do you uniquely do? What value added do you add? And then that lets you know what lists of tasks to do if you understand your purpose. And what Unified Land Operations does is try to come to grips with what the Army is for. What is our purpose? And you can see it's really only one sentence there. And I'll start off, you can see at the top, is the Army seizes, is to seize, retain, and exploit the initiative. It's not seize a high ground. It's not seize a bridge crossing. It is seize the initiative. But it's not just retain and or seize and retain. You have to exploit the initiative. So as I tell folks, if you're a battalion commander and Alpha 6 calls up and says, hey, sir, down here in Alpha Company, we have seized and we are continuing to retain the initiative. The appropriate response is, Alpha 6, once again, you have failed me because you are not exploiting the initiative. There's a big difference between seizing the initiative and exploiting the initiative. But why? Why do we exploit it? We're saying the reason you exploit it is to gain and maintain a position of relative advantage. Gain and maintain a position of relative advantage. Why did you put the word relative in there? I thought you were trying to go from 300 pages to 10 pages. Wouldn't you take out all superfluous words? Yes. The reason the word relative is in there is because we have come to grips with a position of advantage is at best temporary. I have found that war is a series of temporary conditions. And what land power tries to do, as General Sullivan said, is make permanent what would otherwise be a temporary effect of a munition or a battle. That is what land power can do almost uniquely, is tend to extend the effect of a munition or a battle to get it to a position of relative advantage, knowing that it is relative, because what is a position of advantage today could become a position of disadvantage tomorrow, sometimes by no act of our own. So if I use a terrestrial-based example, I'm on this piece of high ground here, and the enemy's down here, I'm in a position of advantage today. But even if I don't move and the enemy moves, I am now at a position of disadvantage, and I didn't do anything. What happened was the world changed, and I didn't see it, and I didn't do anything about it. Why? Because I was not exploiting the initiative. So what we are saying is we want, and this doctrine doesn't say here's the doctrine from E1 to E5, and then here's ADP 6.1 from E5 to Master Sergeant, and ADP 6.2 for up to captains and colonels. This is for, Private Perkins and General Perkins. We're saying every soldier, every unit, we want you to seize, retain, and exploit the initiative to be at a position of constant relative advantage. Now, that could be relative advantage to the Taliban. It could be a position of relative advantage to Hurricane Katrina, if you're doing humanitarian operations. And so now when you think about that, that becomes a pretty significantly challenging thing, that everybody has to kind of be seeing everything in a three-dimensional perspective. They have to determine what is a position of relative advantage, and then they have to constantly be exploring the initiative to get there. And you've got to do it on all echelons simultaneously all the time, and it has to be done in accordance with commander's intent. And so you can see why the old warfighting function called command and control is inadequate, because you cannot really control exploitation of initiative. You empower exploitation of initiative. So we still have command and control. As General Dempsey said, what we are involved in now is a balancing of command and control. What command and control is, in essence, is issuing orders and ensuring compliance. Issue orders, command, ensure compliance, control. And so the control is for the sake of compliance. What we're saying in mission command is, what we're trying to do is empower our subordinates to exploit the initiative, to act within commander's intent using disciplined initiative. And so we are controlling for the sake of empowerment, not controlling for the sake of compliance. So there is, one of the first big misunderstandings is that mission command is the same as command and control. Very much different. Because what mission command does is explains why you command and control. You command and control for the sake of empowerment so that you can exploit the initiative so you're always in a position of relative advantage. But you have to command and control. One of the big pushbacks I get is, well, we're not into this mission command because that's sort of everyone just cross a line departure and then self-actualizes and does whatever they want, and you can't run a war like that. And my response is that's absolutely a bad misunderstanding of it. In other words, if I have two brigades side by side, and 1st Brigade is the main effort, and I want them to go forward and seize initiative, relative advantage, I've got to say, and oh, by the way, 2nd Brigade, you just can't randomly drive in front of 1st Brigade because that will mess up their visualization, etc. like that. So I have to control 2nd Brigade so that I can empower 1st Brigade. So this is this balancing of command and control. Now, if you say, well, how are you going to do that? This actually starts to sound pretty complicated. You're going to do this sort of three-dimensional kind of thing at all echelons. Well, you can see a lot of the words here, but I'll pick out a couple of blocks to focus in. Every month we have the pre-command course at Fort Leavenworth, and we bring all the battalion and brigade command teams together before they cross the line of departure into command. And I say, look, if you're a commander, or I would say leader, because it could be a staff section or whatever, we have a block for you with commander's tasks. And there are actually only 3 of them with regards to mission command. So I said, no more complaining about how hard it is to be a commander. I said, it's not hard like, when a bunch of us in this room were battalion and brigade commanders, when you had to do a lot of things. It was real hard back then. It's very simple now to command. You only have to do 3 things, and we even have it listed and highlighted in a block. So no more whining about the burdens of command. The first one says drive the operations process. And I say, as compared to attend the operations process. Some of us have worked for commanders who attended the process, but maybe didn't drive the process. What we're saying is, if you are the commander, I will tell you, mission command is a very commander-centric philosophy. You drive the operations process. Well, sir, how do I do that? Well, again, we've made life simple for you, so there are 6 subtasks here. And they kind of have to be done in this manner. Understand, visualize, and describe, and then direct, lead, and assess. But what we're saying is you have to do those first 3 first. Understand, visualize, and describe. Understand the problem, visualize how you are going to go about solving it, and then describe it to people. Describe it either through visualization products, describe it, person to person or whatever, but you have to describe it in a way that creates a common visualization to everyone you're talking to that results in a common understanding of the problem. You notice the doctrine does not say understand, visualize, and tell. Okay? If it said understand, visualize, and tell, a lot of people tell people stuff. They give, and tell tends to revolve around data, and that this guy's here, this guy's here, this guy's here. Yeah, but describe that to me. Describe why they're there. Describe the environment in. Describe the problem set. Don't just tell me data. Describe it such that it creates a visualization. And if you're working with the State Department, our great partners out there in the interagency, you probably have to describe it differently than you described it to 2nd Brigade. Because if you want 2nd Brigade and the State Department to have the common visualization, those are 2 different methods of description, and they have different ways of visualizing sort of life in the area they work in. And then once you have a common understanding and a visualization solution, then you direct, lead, and assess. But here's the other part of it. Under sort of command and control, under the command and control paradigm, we generally would assess our compliance with the plan. So if you walk into any talk, they kind of have the plan laid out. And, by Thursday we're supposed to be here, Saturday we're supposed to be here, et cetera, like that. And it says, sir, everything is going according to plan. As a matter of fact, we're ahead of plan. We were supposed to be here on Friday. It's Thursday. We're here. Everything is according to plan. What I tell folks, what is more important is don't assess compliance to the plan, which command and control leads you down, but you need to assess the adequacy of the plan itself. And that's what mission command is. In other words, let's assess the plan, and is our prior visualization of the solution still pertinent, or do we have a misunderstanding of the problem? And has the world changed? Because our old plan was taking us to objective A, but the trouble is things have changed, and objective A is no longer a position of advantage. So what we really have to assess is the adequacy of the plan and assess the adequacy of our understanding of the current problem and the future problem, not with the plan. Because what we're always trying to figure out is what we are doing actually going to allow us to exploit the initiative and move to a position of relative advantage. And I think we all have experienced, in some ways, the larger the echelon you go, there is such momentum in the plan, in a common understanding, and it took so long to get there that it is very hard to change quickly. And if you can't adapt to the world quickly, what happens is you become quickly outmaneuvered, either intellectually or physically. And so when you start to understand the huge difference between mission command and control, what it starts to let you do is give some insight into all the other aspects of sort of .mil PF. So if we're saying this is our doctrine, and the reason it's our doctrine is not because I needed an OER support form, it's because we're saying that, you know what, you cannot execute command and control and get to unified land operations, you're going to have to come up with something different, and that's called mission command. So we execute mission command in order to conduct unified land operations. And so how do you develop leaders so they can operate like this? This is what commanders do, and the staff, of course, supports the commander doing this. So how do you develop leaders? How do you train? How do you set up an NIE? John Charlton's over there. We had a long discussion last night. What does NIE do to facilitate this from a training point of view? What do we do at Command General Staff College, Captain's Career Course, War College, to develop leaders to be able to execute mission command? What kind of material do we buy? Because you'll see right here, we have mission command systems, and again, not by mistake, is this hierarchy there. Unified land operations: gain, maintain, and exploit the initiative to get a position of relative advantage. How do you do that? You do mission command. How do you do that? Commanders do this, staffs do this. What helps them do this? The systems. There's a reason the systems are down here at the bottom, not because they're unimportant, but these systems are subordinate to their requirements, to this philosophy, to this mission. And if these systems don't let the commander understand, visualize, and describe, they are not enabling him. If the systems do not allow you to exploit initiative and get to a position of relative advantage, that system is not allowing the conduct of unified land operations. And so if you have a system that when you are moving requires multiple hours to task reorganize, while the enemy is doing it right before your very eyes, you have now put yourself in a position of disadvantage because you cannot react, you cannot exploit the initiative because your system cannot act quicker than the enemy. So that's the metrics by which you sort of grade the system is, you know what? This system is not giving me any advantage over the enemy. This system is not allowing me to exploit the initiative. This system does not give a good visualization to the commander so that he or she can understand the problem. This system does not allow me to assess the adequacy of the plan. It allows me to assess the status of that system, but it doesn't allow me to assess my adequacy of understanding of the plan. And so out of this sort of one logic map here, you kind of hopefully have tried to add a little clarity to what the huge difference is between mission command and command and control. There is a big element of command and control and mission command, but only in that it allows you to conduct unified land operations. And the problem is if you don't understand the difference between mission command and command and control, what happens is you build command and control systems. You don't build mission command systems. If you don't understand the difference, you train leaders to command and control. You don't train them to execute mission command. You develop commanders who are good at giving orders, ensuring compliance, but not articulating their visualization of their understanding of the problem and getting them on the same sheet of music. Because again, a lot of people go, well, this whole mission command thing, you are giving up control. It's a lack of control because you've done away with command and control. I say, actually, it is the ultimate type of control. Because under the control we grew up in, the people refer to under control systems like, an overlay. Okay, here's an overlay, here's graphic control measures. But they're somewhat superficial. You can lose the overlay, it rains, it wipes off, or the enemy moves, so now that graphic control measure is no longer adequate. So our old sense of control was a false sense of security that we had control because it was something we could see. But I tell folks under mission command, if you have everybody with the same understanding of the problem and the same visualization, that will transcend the overlay falling down. That will transcend the enemy changing, which they are going to do, because you understand the ultimate commander's intent and the visualization of how you're going to get there. And so what you really have is the ultimate form of control, which is mind control. Now I don't know if that's the bumper sticker. The Army doctor is now into mind control. But that's what this really is. What mission command is getting everyone to think about the problem and the solution the same way, so that no matter what happens, we're on the same wavelength with commander's intent. That's much better, and that's much more powerful than an overlay or a CPOF or anything like that. So really, I've used up more than my time on this, but I've sort of stole some of my time. I won't have any opening statement on this here, but I just kind of want to lay this out to clearly differentiate mission command from command and control, some of the misunderstandings are out there, and what we're trying to do. And when you understand that, you say, you know what, pretty high bar for the Army, because we want every private, every major, every first sergeant, every general officer to understand all this, train their units to do that, develop leaders to do this, and then enable and use their systems for that.